12:08 p.m. Malibu University. At the Spies penthouse. It was another usual midday at Malibu. Currently, Matt was by himself in the penthouse and was playing a retro video game. Cool spot for the Sega Genesis. He wore shorts and a black throwback 1999 motocross t-shirt and was black and red pitch on 5. On the back, it was signified 2-time 125 East Supercross champ Michael Pichon. As for Sam and Alex, they had their morning shifts at the Malibu Cafe, and Clover was at her surfology class. Brittany and Nick were in class while Matt was finished with his classes for the day. Blaine was in the middle of a beach volleyball practice. "Oh," Matt grunted as he was working on the final level. Simultaneously, Nick was walking back to the penthouse for a light lunch when he saw Matt was up too. "Holy crap baskets, bro. I haven't seen that game in ages," Nick quipped. "You actually remember this game, Nick?" Matt wondered. "Hey, I grew up with the Genesis, and even though I was obsessed with Sonic, I definitely saw this game a lot," Nick replied. At that moment, Nick had gotten past the cool point for a perfect 100%, and shortly won the stage thereafter. "Yeah!" Matt celebrated with a fist bump. "High score!" "Dude, I had no idea you were that good," Nick replied, which got Matt's attention. "Well, it was pretty straightforward," Matt stated. Brittany came in as the credits were rolling and the Wipeout tune was playing at the game. Nick especially liked the "cool" message on all the spots on the TV screen. Brittany saw the credits too. "Good stuff," Brittany replied, which got both Nick and Matt's attention. They could all see Brittany sported a crop top with slacks. "You talked to Sam and the others at all lately?" Nick asked Brittany. "No, not since they left for their shifts," Brittany answered. The boys hummed at the fact that Nick went out for some lunch. Brittany did the same thing. While Nick was eating, he had an urge for the beach after hearing the Wipeout tune from the cool spot game Matt was playing earlier. "You two up for the beach all of a sudden?" Nick asked, relying his urge to play with Matt and Brittany. "That wouldn't be a bad idea," Matt commented. "Yeah, it's pretty breezy outside," Brittany remarked, "and Clover's already there with her surfology class." "True," Nick commented. He and Matt got out their phones to tell Alex and Sam to meet them at the Malibu beach. "To be honest," Nick told Matt and Brittany, "hearing the Wipeout tune got me thinking of something." "What is it?" Brittany wondered. "I thought that since you tuned in, you normally hear surfing. Maybe we could splash in the surf ourselves?" Nick stated. "Like a Wipeout? Who cares? That kind of thing?" Matt asked. "Uh-huh," Nick answered. "Works for me," Matt replied. "Let's just hope the inevitable doesn't happen, though." "Say what?" Brittany wondered. "Well, sometimes a surfing wave could be your last if you don't know what you're doing," Matt told him. "Yeah, true," Nick commented when he thought about that. "Let's just have some fun in some waves," Brittany told the boys. "My thoughts exactly," Matt quiped. 12:34 p.m. Malibu University beach area. "Look at her go!" Nick laughed as he watched Alex surfing, occasionally flashing a silly pose as she did so. "You taught her some of those moves, you know," Matt chuckled. "I guess I did," Nick replied as he watched Alex do her thing. The only thing noticing someone familiar was also surfing near Alex was. After a few fancy flips, a similar figure eventually rode the waves back to the beach, revealing it to be Nick's sister Melissa. "Sounds like someone's having fun out here, huh?" Melissa chuckled as she watched Alex and Clover having fun out on the waves. "Yeah, we got inspired by a game, believe it or not," Nick replied. Matt was playing a cool spot for games of the Sega Genesis. "Holy cow, that's Ancient Relic?" Melissa laughed. "Yeah, and at the end of the credits, theme kinda inspired us to go surfing," Nick continued. "I've been kinda in weirder situations, trust me." "Right, like the time you try to run like Sonic, only to trip and scrape your knee in the backyard," Melissa teased. "Hey, I was not only that. What, 4 at the time?" Nick sputtered. I was impressionable like any other kid. And that's why my mom said, do as I say, not as I do, Melissa answered. Lessons well learned, Nick sighed. So since it's been a little while since I last saw ya, Melissa quipped, are things going well with all of you? Mostly, Nick replied. You know us and the baddies, right? No kidding, Melissa stated. And how are things going with Alex? Hope you're hopeless romantic? Before Nick could answer that question, he noticed that Blaney was looking a little uneasy about joining Alex and Clover out on the waves. Given the previous circumstances, Nick quickly understood why. Let me guess, first time surfing? Nick wondered. Given the fact that this happened twice today, I can kind of notice the signs, Nick teased. Matt and Clover were giving Blaney the do's and don'ts of surfing. Matt even had the standing posture down to science himself. Hey, I'm no Kelly Salter, man, Matt stated, the first warning to Blaine. I would do it theoretically. On the sidelines, Sam chuckled a bit. Matt looked to see that she was in her classic green swimsuit again, like the last time she tried surfing. Safe to say you're going to have to give surfing a go? Sam asked Matt. Dude, I'm up next after Alex, though, Nick told Matt. I'm not going to step on that, Matt laughed. That's when both boys noticed Melissa was getting a video of Alex surfing. Melissa, what are you doing? Clover wondered, noticing too. Memories, Melissa giggled. Come on, Melissa, Nick teased. There's no more to it than the wipeout by the Safaris began to play. Melissa didn't quite answer yet, and got a shot of Alex wiped out on the wave, especially Alex losing her balance and tripping off at the side of her board. Oh geez, Matt exclaimed, Alex wiping out. Fortunately, Alex managed to get to resurface and ride the next wave back in. Too bad we just have one board, Sam commented, knowing Clover was the only one with the surfboard. Luckily, think we got you covered, Alex, Brittany told Alex when she came back to them. You okay? Clover wondered. Yeah, fine, Alex quiped. Nick was already heading out with Clover's surfboard for his turn. Well, finish my thought, Melissa replied. I thought the least one of the wipeout would make us a good video, if you know what I mean. I'll give you one thing. It's worth a couple laughs, Clover commented. Melissa got back to getting Nick's wave on the video, and he possibly wiped out. Suck it, Salter, Nick shouted, clearly having some fun out there. He's getting way too cocky, Clover giggled. I can guarantee you, Karma's gonna get him soon. He's pretty good, Matt told Sam. Totally, Sam quiped. But I'm looking forward to seeing you in the first wave, Matt. Anything for you, my love, Matt proclaimed, which got Sam blushing instantly. Clover couldn't help but giggle at how lovely-dovey Sam and Matt were being, while being so mentally noticing that Akira would be getting their faces if she were there, and someone would pull her away, preferably by the ear. She's already heard of the stories of Nozomi doing the Hakura after all. Melissa then moved her phone back towards the ocean, just in time to see Nick attempt to flash a fancy pose at the edge of his board, only to slip off the end of it and do a backflip into the water. I tried to warn him, Clover laughed. I wasn't expecting him to do the backflip, Melissa chuckled. Thankfully, Nick was alright and swam back to shore and glanced at the teasing smiles of friends. Let me guess, you saw Karma bite my keister out there? Nick quiped. Maybe, Alex giggled. Maybe you should have done that pose when I was on the other end of the board, Nick admitted, as he shook off the excess water out of him. You think I've learned my lesson from the last time I did that? Nick then noticed that Blaine was on his way to the waves. You feel like giving it another shot, Blaine? Nick asked. As ready as I'll ever be, I suppose, Blaine proclaimed. No more monkey footing around. Let's surf. You could do it, Blaney, Clover exclaimed. Knock them dead, Melissa shouted. Blaine immediately went out to catch a wave for himself. Ride the wave, Nick shouted. Blaney looked at the wave and remembered the balancing positions Matt and Clover had showed him. when to see a good-sized wave come in. Meanwhile, on the shoreline, Melissa was getting a close-up of the shot, as she could have getting Blaney surfing on his wave. He did lose his balance and fall into the ocean a few times. "Get the balance, Blaine," Matt called out. Another wave came in, and Blaine managed to ride the wave pretty well, until he wiped out the 10 yards from shore. Melissa got it all in one video, as Blaine came back completely soaked. "Wow, you almost pulled it off, Blaine," Matt exclaimed. "I'm impressed." "Yeah, that was a great way to ride the first wave," Alex added. "I feel like I saw myself out there again." Sam laughed, remembering how Matt showed her how to surf. "Thanks," Blaine quipped. "Now it's your turn, Matt." "Yep," Matt laughed. "First wave for me anyway." "You got this, honey," Sam replied. Matt was ready to head out to catch his first wave. "It shouldn't be too hard," Matt told himself. "You got this, Matt," Sam shouted. "Wipe the floor with those posers," Melissa exclaimed. A wave then came for Matt, and he was immediately thrown off the board. "Whoops," Matt chuckled after resurfacing. "I think I might have jinxed something," Melissa chuckled. He tried again and managed to get the hang of surfing rather quickly. No surprise, he is originally from Hawaii. "No surprise that he got the hang of it," Clover commented on the shoreline. "Hopefully I'll be that lucky on my turn," Sam quipped. When Matt was less than 10 yards from shore, he dismounted off. "See, bro, I told you you'd wipe the floor with it," Nick proclaimed. "I'm sorry I jinxed you, Matt," Melissa laughed. "Wow, that was fun," Matt replied, as he handed Clover's surfboard for Sam for her turn. "You surprised me, dude," Nick told him, "especially for someone from Hawaii and has never surfaced a wave before." "I'll admit, I was surprised myself too," Matt commented, as he high-fived Nick and Blaine. "I was surprised," Alex added. Before long, Sam was already heading out for her turn. "Here we go," Sam proclaimed, as she got on the surfboard. "Hey, she's doing pretty good," Melissa quipped. "Despite not doing much surfing, she learned from the best," Nick replied, looking back at Matt. Although she almost got wiped out at some point, Sam managed to stay on her board, and this time did her return to the shore victorious. "See? What did I tell you?" Matt proclaimed as he walked over to hug Sam. "I felt like you watching over me," Sam replied as she leaned in for a kiss. "And they're definitely not wasting any time, aren't they?" Melissa giggled as she watched the romance go down. "They really never do," Nick chuckled. "Then again, Alex and I are kind of the same way, as you've seen more than often." "True," Melissa replied, as Clover headed out for her turn. "Honestly, it kind of feels like surfing is something you have to at least know something by default if you live in Beverly Hills or any location with beaches and waves," Blaney quipped as he watched Clover surfing. "Duly noted," Nick responded. "All right, who's up next?" Clover asked as she returned to shore. "Or did we already give everyone a shot?" Nick glanced back at Melissa, who suddenly looked very apprehensive. "You wouldn't dare," Melissa stated. "I can swim, but I definitely can't surf." "First time for everything, girlfriend," Alex laughed as they all started leading Melissa to the surfboard. Melissa had an obvious look of "I'm probably going to regret this" on her face, but she figured it heck, as long as she was here, she'd have some fun. Well, that was Totally Wiped Out, a Totally Spies fanfiction written by Mat49324. My final thoughts on this story? Well, I honestly thought it was a pretty neat story. It was a pretty good story. Like, I like the fact that, this is actually one of the recent stories that Matt wrote, so I thought, hey, I'll go ahead and read this one. So, anyways, that being said, I personally thought this one was pretty neat. It has a really good concept. I really enjoy it. I also really do like the fact that, there's improvement on this one with the grammar and that compared to, how it was like back in 2004 when I read one of his older stories. But his older stories were good, but I think these ones have at least improvement on the grammar. So, I guess with that being said, I still find it to be, amazing, well-made stories, and they're pretty well made. So anyways, with that being the case, that being said, yep, this is on fanfiction.net. If you guys want to read it, you are free to read it if you want. I'm pretty sure you guys will enjoy the story as much as I did. So, I guess with that being said, if you're, like I said, oh yeah, before I wrap up, I just want to sit here and say right now that this story was actually a pretty fun one, and I recommend you check out this story if you haven't. It's on fanfiction.net, so I mean, you guys could check it out if you want to. So, anyways, with that being said, with that being the case, I'm going to sit here and say this right now, that this is just simply my own personal opinion. And if you happen to disagree with me, that's perfectly fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions in regards to these, well, you know, fan fictions or whatever you prefer to call this one. This is just simply my own personal thoughts. I'm going to give this story a 10 out of 10. It's a really awesome story. I mean, the fact that the spies are surfing at the beach, I actually have seen them do that in a few episodes. I just can't remember what their names were, but it's been like years. But it's still a pretty good story regardless. So, anyways, I think what I'm going to try to say is, this is just my opinion. You are feel free to state your own thoughts in the comments, as I like to hear what you guys think. So anyways, what did you guys personally think of this creepypasta? No, not creepypasta, but fan fiction. I guess whatever you decide to prefer to call it. Do you enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what you have done personally to help make this story a lot better? Feel free to leave me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. I'm the Lion Queen. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. If you're brand new here to this channel, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload, so that way you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, please roll the outro, because I'm out.